Hi, Ted Morrissey here, making a video for my Lindenwood University MFA in Writing program course, specifically the course which is sort of introductory to the whole program. And I know you've been inundated with information on writing craft and all kinds of things in this first week or so. And so I don't really have anything really new that I can add to any of that. So what I really like to do is just take a few seconds to underscore a couple of important points, I think. One has to do with establishing a writing habit. Um, I know when I was much, much younger and wanted to be a writer, but yet hadn't really gotten into the routine of writing on a regular basis, I had in my head that, well, writing requires a lot of time. So if you don't have an hour or two on a given day to devote to it, well, what's the point, right? So I'll just maybe get to it tomorrow or the next day or whenever. But then I remember reading an article in Writer's Digest, which I don't even know if there is such a thing anymore, but there was this article that basically said that 10 minutes a day is fine, that just get in the habit of spending 10 minutes a day writing. It doesn't matter when it is, in the morning, in the evening, 10 minutes over lunch, something like that. But the important thing is to just establish a regular time. And if you can do 10 minutes every day for a while, maybe you'll discover you could actually do 15 minutes, or maybe eventually you feel like you could do 20 minutes. And that article about just 10 minutes a day, it really made a big difference to me because, yeah, I could do that. As busy as I was with teaching and with having kids and all this stuff, I could squeeze out 10 minutes. And so I got into this habit of writing first thing in the morning, and pretty quickly it wasn't just 10 minutes, it was more like 30 minutes. And even that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but if you can squeeze out 30 minutes, for example, every day, whether it's first thing in the morning or at night or whenever, that can really add up. Again, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes to start off with, just 10 minutes is fine. I know some writers set themselves page goals or words goals. So they try to write X number of pages per day, or they try to write 1,000 words or 1,500 words or whatever it might be. I've always found that to be too stressful. That really puts a lot of pressure to produce text. Whereas if I just say, well, I'm going to write for 10 minutes or whatever it might be, that's much more doable. And if I write, quite a bit during that time period, great. If I'm mainly just thinking about the story or the poem or whatever it is and just making some progress sort of mentally about it, that's good too. But the important thing is to get into that habit and not to just talk yourself out of it by saying, well, I'm too busy today. I don't have a bunch of time I can devote to it. I'm not going to have time to go to Starbucks and write, which is my preferred method of writing, or whatever it might be. Just as long as you can devote a little bit of time on a daily basis, that's the important thing, because it really can accumulate over time. Plus, I found that as I get close to finishing a project, I'm really motivated, and so I might invest more time on a daily basis as I get near the end because I want to finish and get a whole draft of something and so forth. So you may discover that, as you go through a process and get more, invested in it, that you might find ways to spend more time on it. But that really isn't important. The important thing is to do X number of minutes, even if it's as little as 5 or 10 minutes, and just get in the habit of doing that. That's the important thing. Hemingway had this trick, this technique, which he said he used and was really helpful to him. I've never tried it exactly, but maybe it'll make good sense to you. When he was writing a story or a novel chapter, he would make sure that every writing session he ended in mid-sentence. So when he would come back to it the next day, he would already be in the middle of a sentence, and he would know how to finish that sentence, and that would sort of get the whole creative apparatus churning again. Whereas I guess he felt that if he ended at a end of a sentence, that it was harder for him to kind of get the ball rolling the next day. I've never really tried that technique, but I do when I'm writing, if I have some clear ideas where I want to take the narrative next, and if I don't have time in this writing session to do that, I will scribble some notes to myself to remind myself this is where I want to go with the narrative. So when I sit down the next day, I already have kind of a good idea, what direction I'm moving, and don't have to spend a lot of time just kind of staring at the blank page and so on, right? So I think that's really, really important. And then the last thing I would say is, and again, this is part of the information you were given, but I'll just kind of underscore it here, is don't wait for inspiration. That I think there is this idea that writers don't write until they are inspired to write. They have an idea for a story or a novel or a song or a screenplay, whatever it is, and then they'll sit down and just in a wave of inspiration, they'll just knock out this short story or this whole novel or whatever it is. How many movies have we seen where we'll see writers hunched over a table or a typewriter or whatever it is, and all this majestic music is playing, and we know that's the sound of their inspiration, and lo and behold, they're able to knock out this entire manuscript. Doesn't happen very often. And I think writers who wait for inspiration wait a long time and end up really not writing much of anything. Habit and perseverance and just steady as she goes is much more important to getting work done ultimately. Right. So I'm going to stop there because, like I said, I just wanted to underscore a couple of things. And I'd be interested to hear what you have to think about any of this stuff, or add some new information or ideas of your own would be great. And I look forward to seeing you down the digital trail.